Alright, let's get this party started. Can you guys tell me if you can hear me okay? Alright, let's wait for confirmation that everything is okay, and then we can go with our meeting. Also waiting for a few people to come over. We're just gonna give it a few more minutes and then we can start. So Anton tells me that 12 o'clock EST is 1900 hours UTC. 1701 is here in UTC, so I probably made a mistake in the blog. Guys, I'm really bad at this. So let's see what we can do here. Maybe move a little bit some windows. I don't have a lot of real estate here, so I just need to make sure that everything is fine. Close my notifications here. All right, all okay. I got the all okay. Stop my little game here on the computer, on the phone. All right, so let's start. Let's start our Hangout, our community Hangout. Thank you to everybody that's taking the time to come here, even with a relatively short notice. We posted the blog article yesterday, and even with the obvious mistake in the blog, it is 12 o'clock EST, so it should be 1700, not 1900 UTC. I apologize for that. So here's our small presentation. The community hangout for today, the February the 13th of 2021. Our agenda will be, of course, to welcome everybody. We welcome all the attendees that took the time to come over here. Of course, we always have a thank you to all of our community and all the contributors. We would like to give you a status update since last Hangout, PHP 8, version 4, documentation for version 4, and version 5. And we're going to have questions and answers. Of course, if you have a question while we're talking, by all means ask it in the chat. I'll get to it as we go along, as soon as I get small breaks. This slide, we always have it. Thank you to everybody that that has contributed, whether this is with code or discussion or suggestions, bug fixes, anything that people contribute is always appreciated. This is the slide for our C Falcon repository. It's the Falcon which comes as an extension. And we have mentioned we're making an effort to move Falcon to a pure PHP implementation. That's a different repository. The only thing that I can say that it's wrong in this slide is Parler, which has been decommissioned. I'm gonna remove that from the slides shortly. We have adjusted the links on our websites to reflect that. Also, a huge thank you to everybody that has taken the time to go to Crowdin and support our project with translations. There are quite a lot of translations coming in from Crowdin, and for the most part our main site has been fully translated, and the documentation, I know it's a lot of work. I should know. I went through all of the documents while working on V4, and it is quite a lot of work to translate everything. So hopefully we're gonna have more contributions. But thank you to everybody that has taken the time to go and translate to their native tongues. A small pause here. Welcome to Fred and Rudy who came in the chat. Welcome, guys. Thank you for being here. So let's have a look at an update. For starters, we've been a little bit quiet in terms of updates with the community, and sometimes for open source projects this doesn't really give you a lot of confidence. There has been quite a bit of movement into the C Falcon repository, not as much into the Falcon repository. So remember, C Falcon is the C based one, Falcon is the PHP based one. We're all busy, and also with these crazy times, it takes a lot from you to work on an open source project if you have other things going on at work, and everybody has gone through this. Now, I did want to make this to have this hangout last week, but again, things came up, and unfortunately I wasn't able to attend to, and I managed to squeeze it in today, because for me it's going to be an extremely busy day tomorrow. I'm going to be away from home with my daughter. So we're trying our best, guys. Please don't take this that we're not working. Activity has gone really well in terms of showing the community that something is going on in the Falcon in the C Falcon repository. Especially leading the effort was Jackerson, Anton, who has been pestering uh, Dream and Alexander for help with PHP 8. A small brief pause here to welcome Sakura as well as Max. Welcome, guys. Thank you. And Max, sorry I don't speak Russian, but I'm pretty sure Anton can help reply to you. And yes, Sakura, it's really good news that we're getting PHP 8 support. One of the things that I mentioned, I'm gonna get to that, Max. I'm gonna talk about the JWT a little bit further down. I have that in the slides. I don't know if that's what you will want to hear, but please bear with me a little bit. So what I was saying is that Jefferson has been leading the effort with PHP 8. What we did not want to do with PHP 8 was repeat the mistake of PHP 7. When if for people that have been using Falcon for quite a while, you will recall that Falcon and PHP 5 was just a killer combination. The performance was crazy that you would gain, and that was what drew a lot of people to Falcon. With PHP 7, the PHP team did humongous leaps forward in terms of performance, so that gap, of course, was not as great as it was. Unfortunately, at the time, we had a lot of problems with the organization of Falcon and contributions, and we were not able to push a version v3 supported by Falcon 7. We were not able to push a version 3 compatible with PHP 7. So it was really bad for the project itself. Now, learning from these mistakes, PHP 8 is really new. So we're concentrating a significant amount of resources and time to ensure that version 4 will be compatible with PHP 8 for those that want to use it. And of course, PHP 8 is another leap forward in terms of performance and organization of PHP, especially the Zend engine, and kudos to the PHP team. I know that there's a lot of work to be done, and for those that really don't get this, to access the whole Zend engine, we have to communicate with their API, and because it's been a decade or more from people just contributing to PHP 8 to PHP and not being able to have a uniform way of how to code. A lot of the code works, but it is a little bit of a mess. So the PHP team has worked diligently to slowly start cleaning up everything and bringing as much performance as possible with PHP. And we will enjoy that. So here's our update for PHP 8. I've got in the slide the issue that we track everything with regards to that, and you're going to see a good number of commits from Anton Jefferson. We have 2 failing tests. That's the bottom line. Those tests will have to either be readjusted or the code itself has to be adjusted. We have managed to compile Falcon with PHP 8, and that is the greatest news ever. There is, though, a bit of cleanup that we have to do in our side, how we access the Zend engine API. So version 4.2, which is upcoming, will support PHP 8. We have at least 3 to 5 bugs with seg faults, and this is when I was mentioning that Jefferson is pestering Dream and Alexander to try and focus on where those bugs are and fix them. And we're in a really good path. I don't have a timeline for now, but we cannot wait. Now, also, it is all ready to compile Falcon by removing some deprecated C code. Remember, Zephyr was created a long time ago, and a lot of things have changed with PHP major versions. The TSR, MLS, CC, I don't remember what those are, but sometime it was explained to me. But those constants or functions, whatever they are no longer in use. They have been replaced with something better. So our goal is, and if you do remove those, then it is possible to compile C Falcon by removing that C deprecated code. Now, in the latest version of Zephyr that will support PHP 7.4 and above, meaning PHP 8 as well, will be 0.13. Zephyr 0.12.20 will work with 7.4 and less. PHP 7.4 and less. So if you have 7.3, 7.2, 7.1, which you shouldn't really, 7.1 and 7.2, we should be going to at least 7.3 and if possible 4. Because of course the end of life of those has arrived. So yeah, this is really great news. Again, I don't have a real time frame, but we're pushing really hard. Hopefully within this new month coming with, and I'm just putting 1 month ahead from us just in case we get even busier or whatever, in order to be able to release 4.2 with PHP 8. Now, this comes to Max's question as well. Update. Did I miss the slides? No. Okay. So update on V4 and documentation. Okay. For V4, we've fixed a couple of bugs. It wasn't a great amount. There is one bug that I know that it's outstanding. Is with regards to the crypt component and the GCM mode. It was brought to our attention by one of our contributors who was kind enough to even provide a sample code so that we can fix it. And that one is still under development. We're not going to release any more 4.1. The next version will be 4.2 and will incorporate all those bug fixes. We do have an urgent kind of thing, and this is what Max was talking about, how to use native JWT in Falcon. The JWT is there, but the documentation is missing. Also, we've introduced data mapper components such as the, I believe it was the connection, the PDO connection, the decorated PDO connection, and a couple more things. Hold on, let me refresh my memory of what it was, because I should know. I'm the one that wrote it. Oh, and the query builder. Yes, those two are actually missing from the documentation. I did make an effort and started it a few weeks back, but then life got in the way, and I was never able to complete it. But this week coming, my focus will be solely to fix the documentation, at least to release JWT, because I know a lot of people have been asking about it for quite a few weeks now, so that you can get your projects underway. And then after that, I'm gonna work on the data mapper components and so on and so forth. Sorry about this, guys. It is not. This is, as you know, an open source project. We work whenever we have time. So Rudy, do you have an ETA for 4.2? As soon as the last bug fixes are done with regards to PHP 8, we're just gonna wrap everything up and release it. Even if we don't have outstanding or planned bugs fixed, we're just gonna make one release to allow people to work with the current version of Falcon and PHP 8, and then we can easily do a 4.2.1 even a week later if that is the that is the case. So I don't know how fast that will take. It's a combination of three different people trying to help and fix everything. You did see in the previous slide we have three seg faults, and we need to make sure that those are fixed before everything else goes through. Plus we have those last two tests that are failing that we need to make sure that they are fixed. So yeah, coming back to this, next week is gonna be full working on JWT and data mapper components documentation. I'm hoping by the end of next week to have everything sorted out. My particular time is crazy right now. There's too much work, so sometimes I'm just really too tired to even work on the project, but I'll try my best. Okay. Now, as far as so Rudy, thank you. I just wanted to know so I can make a push for first level cache. Yes, that would be a great thing to do. I'm excited about that one too. So yeah, coming back, update for V5. Again, V5 is our effort to translate Zephyr to PHP. It is up and down from time to time. I mean, I've translated, so to speak, components from Zephyr to PHP, and it was just translated, run the tests, everything is fine, make minor changes, the way Zephyr is working and the way PHP is working, minor changes, and lo and behold, the actual component or namespace is done. The latest and greatest that we have is that you didn't see a lot of movement into that. Mostly it's local and local branches that is going on. We do have some minor hurdles when translating C to PHP. Some Zephyr functions were in pure C, and Jickerson has been helping with this quite a lot. And I'm gonna give a special shout out to the Russian community on Telegram that has actually helped with this. Kudos to you guys. So work in progress on this translation, if you like, is that I've been working on the HTTP layer, you know, the request to response, the files, the everything. Also, I've been working on the CLI, and then with the CLI comes the dispatcher and the router. It's crazy how all these are intermingled with each other. So for the CLI, I believe there's around 20 tests failing, mostly on the router and the router matching. At dispatcher, all the tests are passing. So CLI is probably 90% done. The HTTP, I would say well over half of it is done. You can actually go to the Falcon organization and click on the projects, and you will see the V5. You will see that we have around 14 cards / issues left, which is 14 namespaces to convert, and the biggest one is the MVC, right? And we'll most likely split that into smaller chunks. Now, since I've mentioned all this intermingling with each other, in order to convert, so to speak, the CLI, you have to already create certain abstract classes, for instance, the abstract dispatcher, and some interfaces, the HTTP file interface or whatever, the HTTP request interface, and so on and so forth. So every namespace that we try to convert will actually touch some other things, and luckily it's only interfaces, so we don't have to do a huge amount of work in many components at the same time. This makes makes it easier to figure out whether you made a mistake somewhere in the translation and get all the tests to pass. So the next things that we will see in that will be the HTTP and the CLI. There's also work that started in the forums, and you know, more and more will go forward. Now, one of the big hurdles, if you like, is the C to PHP conversion. In order for Falcon to be as fast as possible, parsers for the application, for the framework, were written in pure C, and these parsers are in three spots. One is the annotations parser, the PHQL parser, and the Volt parser. Now, the Volt one, Jackerson has been working to slowly convert it to a PHP version. We will definitely need the PHQL once we start translating the DB component, as well as the MVC components, because that is the core of our models and how they work. So I don't know how long this will take, honestly, but you know, it's getting there. It's moving slowly for now, but it is moving. Sakura says, thanks for the effort, guys. Take the time resetting, even if I'm feeling that there was never reset time. Yeah, I know, right? AK87, welcome. Thanks for your support. In any JWT, is any JWT sample in or documentation available? Is needed very urgently. Surprised the feature was announced and ready a long time ago. AK, probably you came a little bit late. I mentioned this in a previous slide that yes, we know that, and this next week is going to be purely JWT documentation, which will offer as many examples as I can, so that you can just pretty much copy and paste the code, and you can have something running in your local environment than in your applications. Apologies for that, guys. It's always been in my mind, and you know, all of a sudden you just forget and you do something else, you get pulled out in other stuff. But hopefully by the end of next week, we should be able to have a thorough JWT section in our documentation. And then of course I mentioned that I will continue with the data mapper, the query, and the connection objects. Alright, so one other thing that we've been working on, yeah, I did this. Yes, sorry about the flicking back and forth. I got confused a little bit. So update v5 benchmarks. We discussed the whole thing with the team as to the performance hit that we will get once we translate the code from Zephyr to PHP. I did mention that in PHP 5 and Falcon 1, Falcon 2, there was a huge boost.
Daddy?
Sorry about that.
Package at the door.
Okay, my love. All right, we got a package out the door. Okay, there you go. You got the little one. So yeah, there was a huge boost in performance of your applications if you were using PHP 5 and Falcon, right? And now I did mention that performance boost was shortened, or was reduced, if you like, when PHP 7 came up, and it will be reduced even more when PHP 8 comes along. Unless we purely develop Falcon as a C extension, and in particular if you want use some sort of an async methodology or something like that, similar to what Swool is doing, you're gonna see a huge performance increase anymore. PHP has moved positively in a really good performance based model. So what are we gonna do with regards to the PHP version that we're building right now is we are introducing slowly benchmarks for everything. Jackerson has started leading the effort for that, and we're gonna. The plan is to write benchmarks for every single method that we have in the project, just to make sure that at least we have something to show. Of course, PHP is always slower than a pure C, okay? But the point is that benchmarks will give us a great base point on where we are. And in, let's say, version 5.1 or something, we can introduce more code to the framework and actually see how that code interacts in terms of performance. There is a way that you can store the benchmark results, and we can compare them with every PR. And of course, we will consider introducing slower code into the framework if we cannot optimize it. But the idea is that you should always make sure that you put the most efficient code that you can into the framework, so that the consumers will be able to utilize this speed. Back to the chat. The question is, what is in the package? Oh, that is Valentine's present for my wife. I bought her towels. We're not crazy about, Valentine's Day and flowers and all that stuff. We just buy stuff that we need. So I bought her a set of nice plushy towels. And Rudy, yeah, that's the new normal, remote work with kids. Yes, well, for me it was always the normal here, because I've been working from home for the last 5-6 years now. And I'm always in the basement. I'm away from upstairs, the madness. The main difference with us is that we're now homeschooling our kids. So, and my little one is doing remote. So everybody's upstairs when they're doing their school. Of course, no school today, because it's Saturday. So yeah. Back to the benchmarks. This is an example that I can give you with a micro optimization, which is it's not gonna get your application to this crazy boost. I've always been a believer in what one of my teachers told me. A badly written code on a Cray supercomputer is still gonna be bad written code. So the code has to be pristine in terms of how it's implemented. But little things like these, you can start making them using them as a habit, and lo and behold, you're not losing that nanosecond or microsecond or whatever. If you put it cumulatively through your whole application, you can actually make a tiny positive effort, and the collection of all these tiny positive efforts will give you the best code that you can get in terms of performance. So this is an example, and a thank you to the Russian community on Telegram. I mentioned this before. It's to give you an idea of one tiny thing that you can do, and you can gain a little bit of speed. So the first one, which correlates to the first line on the little graph, is if you're trying to do a comparison if a variable is null, is actually the value null. So that one is the slowest. If you do if slash is null is true, that one is the second slowest. And if you import the function, and if use function is null, and then you say if true equals is null, then that one is the fastest. There is a way in PHP Storm, for those that use it, that you get PHP Storm to automatically use the imports at the top, whether these are especially for functions. I don't remember exactly where it's at, but it's in the settings, and it's some sort of an auto import feature. I'm pretty sure if you search in the settings, you will find it. And then every single time you're trying to write a method, let's say is null, and then you press enter, if it doesn't exist at the top in the use declarations, it will automatically put it in. So that's a huge help from there. Sakura, why do you guys like to do true equals something and not something equals true? Excellent question. So a little bit of history on this. This is called the Yoda syntax. For those that know Yoda from Star Wars, his discussion was his talking was a little bit weird. It was something in the lines, "Brave, are you not?" or something like that. Now, the reason you do this, and this is specifically, it's a habit for starters, but it also helps you with assignments versus operations. We've all done this, every one of us. I can remember myself at least a dozen times. So you type in, you write, if x equals 1, right? Now, if you use 1 equals, that means that you're assigning the value of 1 to x, right? Instead, what you really wanted to do is you want to find if x is 1. Right? At which point you had to do if x equals 1 or if x equals 1. The latter one actually tests if x is an integer as well. Now, this tiny little thing that you forgot 1 equals or 2 can actually send you to a rabbit hole where you can be trying to find where this thing is that is giving you wrong results. Now, if you flip it around, so if you say if 1 equals x, or if 1 equals x, or in our case, if 1 equals x, you're trying to assign to an integer the value x, which is a no-go. If you do it this way and you forget the second equal sign, PHP Storm or even PHP will actually throw an exception. It will tell you, I cannot compile this. So by doing it in the Yoda way, you pretty much stop yourself from accidentally making that mistake. And this is why we do this. Okay, it's not obligatory. It's something that I talked to the team. We said, okay, that's perfectly fine to do. And we try as much as possible to use the Yoda one, just in case you have a fat finger or a thin finger and you don't put the second equals there. Now, you will notice that we always use, especially in the Falcon code, we always use the 3. So it will be either not equals or equals. All right. So if you do that, you always test for the type as well, and we need to make sure that the type is taken into account because PHP is moving to a strongly typed language, and it's always great if you can if you know exactly what you're taking into your method and what data you have and how do you use it. Okay. And I'll show you an example on that. And it's time for Q&A, and thank you to everybody. See, I didn't blabber that much this time. Not just like the last hangout that lasted 3 hours or more. I actually wanted to show you a little bit what's going on with what do we mean by translation with Zephyr and PHP and all that. So I'm gonna keep an eye on the questions and I'm gonna be answering them, but just wanted to show you something real quick. Let me just move this a little bit there and see if I can flip the source code. Yep. All right. So this is PHP Storm, right? And this is one of the things. Oh, sorry. Hold on a sec. I asked this in Discord, but do you think the performance here will be more than 20% from C to PHP? No, I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so. There are two things that you have to consider. First of all, even if you have a 20% drop in performance, how much does it cost to add, let's say, a couple of gigs of RAM, or elevate your VM to a higher processor? It's going to be pretty much nothing. The way things are going now with hardware, it's exceedingly cheap to just elevate your machine, your virtual machine, your hosting to just a tiny bit, so that you can compensate for this drop. I sincerely doubt that this is gonna be in the 20% level. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have any metrics to tell you exactly what, but it's not gonna be that much. Like I mentioned before, in this Hangout, the difference between PHP 5 and Falcon and PHP 7, excuse me, and PHP 7 and Falcon was at least 40%, because PHP became 40% faster. At least, and that's I recall that was 7.1. By 7.4, they sped it up, and also in PHP 8, some of the core components of the Zend engine are definitely rewritten to take advantage of all of this. Now, I will mention one thing that has always been in my mind since I was a young engineer learning about computers. And yes, I am old. When I started doing that, our computers were 8086, and you were lucky if you had 512 kilobytes of RAM, right? So your goal was always to squeeze as much performance as possible and to write the most efficient code so that you don't waste things. Now, since 1989 until here, you're not even discussing the technological advances that we have. But there's also one aspect that you have to consider. If you're, let's say, if you have, let's say, a web design company, right, and you build applications for your customers, using Falcon is a good way of ensuring that you have something and you just build it and all that stuff, right? But it also helps you by squeezing a lot more customers on one server with lower hardware than what you would have had with potentially Symfony or Laravel or others, right? So in that particular case, your overhead is lower and you gain more money. Now, that was always the case in a few years back. It's not really the case here because the prices have gone down significantly. But still, our goal is to make Falcon exceedingly fast and to always keep Falcon exceedingly fast. I understand that it hasn't been the fastest one that you could ever have, but fast with simple is a really great combination for people to adopt it. Falcon will never ever be as fast as, let's say, Swol or even AMP, because those are synchronous frameworks. But if you compare like to like, Falcon is right up there. Maybe not right now at the top spot, but we do aim to hit the top spot after we get everything into PHP. Okay. Now, keep the questions coming, guys. I'm just gonna show you something real quick. So this is what I mean by translating Zephyr to PHP. All right. So all this is Zephyr code. Okay, you can see different little things here and all that. Some interfaces up here. and then you see the router extends abstract injection aware and then implements router interface and events aware interface. Well, so the first thing that I have to do is just get rid of this, keep the implements. It will be implementing router interface, injection aware interface, and events aware interface. And then all I will do is I will use events aware trait and use. So this is one of the powers of PHP that we didn't have it in in Zephyr. We have traits. So if I want to use the injection here, it's extremely easy for me to do that actually. So if I go to the events aware, you see that I have my events manager here, the get and the set, and I can have the fire event. If I go to the injection aware, you can see here I got my DI interface container and I have the get set DI. So with just 2 lines I managed to fix this thing, right? And the next thing I have to do is public and public here. And this is one of the at least interesting things that I have to do. Oops, sorry. So for starters, I have to change all these variables, right? So let's actually put the $sign in front of them. Zephyr doesn't use the $sign, so we just have to put it like this. So for starters, the events manager, I don't need it. It comes from the trait, so I can just get rid of that. These little things, the get and the set, are Zephyr related syntax. And what this does is it automatically creates the get key route names, and the set key route names. All right. So I'm gonna put those in a comment so that I can add them later on in my code. So this looks a little bit like PHP code, even more. So this is the key part here. And it's really funny. Zephyr does a lot of magic in the background. So if all these methods, all these properties here are actually null initially, even especially if you do not define a type or an assignment. So this one here, the default namespace, for Zephyr, it is null. Straight up. I don't have to do that. In PHP, you have to. You have to tell it what it is. So one of my tasks that makes things interesting is trying to find what types these are and how I can use them without messing up the interfaces. So these are easy here. All right, we just do RA. Right, and then this one is easy, and this one is easy. All right, so then here come the interesting ones. So matches, I know for sure it's an array because it comes with a preg max. Now for these ones here, the default namespace, default controller, default action, what I usually do is I stop using null. Because these are strings. I use an empty string, so I do that, and then at the end leave them like that. So that kind of like brought things into perspective, and I just leave that there until I find something that I can use further down, right? And also what I do is I take these from here, and this is just to help me. I don't know if you know this little trick for PHP Storm. I come up here and I paste these, and then using this I do add property, and I leave these like this. So leave those out of here. And I'll show you why I do this. It helps me a lot in the translation, so to speak. And once I figure out exactly what each of those parameters needs to be, I just change it. Very rarely I would leave one that is just mixed. I try not to have mixed stuff because it doesn't help me. So let me just align them kinda here to make this thing a little bit easier to, just aesthetics, it's not necessary. And two more up there. Alright, so if you do this part here, property type and then the actual property name, then while you're coding further down, you're gonna see PHP Storm helping you with this. All right. The next thing that I do is I actually put the automatically generated codes there. It's not necessary, but it's good for me to read it. You don't have to do this if you have the properties at the top. So that one, this one, and then this one, the parameters, and then there was matched. And then I will make the same thing once I figure out what's going on. So now we come to the actual code, and this is the constructor. So first of all, no exclamation point. I get to do this. The default route is that. This is an assignment that Zephyr has, so we just get rid of it, and then it becomes if true equals default routes, and then that's my statement, and then we just say routes equals new routes. And because this one is not defined, what we need is this at the top. This is syntax for Zephyr, so this is the array of PHP, and then that, and then we just do this change here. And then we say now you see that it became, this routes became purple because it kind of like knows that it is a property. And if you scroll back up, you will see routes here, so I know for sure that this is an array here. So I put array there, and actually I could do this. There you go. Just make sure that everything is fine. So this is how we translated this little part, and we figured out what routes is. Okay, and then you keep on going further down to another one, and this one is a lot longer. So what I do is I usually bring it into a more readable thing. Do we have any of that for VS Code? I'm not sure. I've used VS Code only for very quick typing and editing. So I'm not 100% sure, but that's a question from Rudy. So we just need to do that. Now here's an interesting thing. This add function had position and had it in a var for Zephyr, but I know that position is either position last or position first, and I could potentially put int here just to make sure that everything is fine. The problem is what happens when I call the attach method. Okay, so if I scroll down and try to find attach, alright, it says var position. This is the mixed, right? And then here it just tries to figure out whether the position is either first or last, and then throws an exception. So it is safe for me to change a little bit the interface so that this is an integer, so I don't have to worry about any types or somebody passing junk. So I'll leave that as int. So there's an interface change right there. And then what I do is I do this with so that I get the autocomplete from PHP Storm. And anytime I have these kind of things here, this is to help PHP Storm autocomplete. So this is for paths, like that. So if you do this here, it does not help your application one bit, but when you're writing code and you try to go to the paths part, then it's gonna give you the 1, 2, 3, 4 different options. And this one says it's null and it's an array. I would have preferred if it was just an array, so that the paths are either empty or not. So this is another change that I'm doing. I'm going here trying to find where the paths are, which they're not here. Okay, it's not a property per se. So I can do here array. That's a good change to make, at least for now. And then by doing this, it's just empty. Now here's the other thing. This one is actually complaining because the interface is not correct. So I've got to go to the interface and go here, change that, and then methods equals null. Actually, I need to do this. So now this one should not complain. Yep, there you go. Now here's an interesting thing. I don't know if you noticed it. This add here has int position router. The router interface doesn't have that. Is that crazy? If you go further up, we're trying to find the router interface. Okay. This is the add. And then the router interface doesn't have the position. So this is what I was talking about, the magic of Falcon, that it would not really follow the interface itself, kinda. So all I have to do is just copy these guys, come over here. So that's the correct one. And then I'll copy these ones. And then pass them in here so that we have the same doc blocks. And of course on the other one I could just put inherited there. On this part I could put inherited, but that's fine. Now what I need to do here is I need to say route equals new route, and then it has the pattern, the paths, and then the HTTP methods. Here's the other interesting thing. The paths, I actually made it an array. Well, what if I go to the route? What is that gonna give me? Well, this one could very well be on the reconfigure, paths equals null. I haven't translated this yet. So I could potentially keep this like that. Self get route paths. I love this code. get route paths, and this is the key. It checks if the path says null, otherwise it doesn't let it go. And this is the crazy thing. These are the things that we would love to create. So paths can actually be a string, and if it is a string, it does something, and if it's not, then it just goes ahead. So my change earlier was not successful, so I have to keep this as a mixed, because it's gonna be an array and or a string. So I could do this I could leave it as an array here, but unfortunately just leave it now for because otherwise it's not gonna I'm gonna be going down rabbit holes. So you keep mixed null there. Just making things pretty. So you go there, we go here, make this null. Alright, so those are done, and then all I have to do is just go at the top here and then just say, oh no, this is fine. So this is what I was telling you about, guys, that I need to go to different rabbit holes. So since the path was passed into the route, I have to go to the route and see the constructor, where is it? Here, what this needs, and then it goes into the reconfigure, and then it goes to the attach, and then you find that this could very well be a string as well. The goal is for subsequent versions of Falcon to get rid of all of these. Yes, Rudy served. Do those mixed variables hurt performance? Yes, and by a very, very easy way. Think about it. If you have an array, you always pass an array, and that's it. If you pass either an array or a string, you have to have an if statement that will check if this is an array or if this is a string, and then potentially throw an exception. Just a tiny bit of code is extra for compilation and extra for execution if need be. The little code that you saw somewhere around here, where was it? Sorry, I just got to find it real quick. Here, this little piece of code here that you can see, I don't know if you can see it very well. Let me just make it visible. So it says here, if paths is null, then make it an array. This tiny piece of code is another if, and it's another assignment. So you're demanding more memory to give it to you. But think about it this way. If this was just an array that was being passed, this if would go, and this if would go. All of it. All the way at the bottom. Up to here. All this code. So you shorten your code, you make things a lot easier. So there's a lot of things that we could do, and we cannot do it right now because we're just in the processing of these methods. So we need to make sure that the code has been translated and it works, and then after that we can actually work on subsequent versions to make it much faster. The goal is to make the router to be fully PSR7 compliant. So my dream is for Falcon to work with middleware. So if you want a little bit of functionality, you just throw in a middleware that does something for you and then be done with it. And middleware would be fully PSR7 compliant. So even if you have something that is working, let's say on a Symfony application, and it is PSR compliant, and then you can just take that and just drop it in there and you're good to go. So the goal is to get as much flexibility as possible to developers so that they can create their application as fast and as efficient as possible. Of course, this is going down that route. It will help us too, because we can adjust our dev tools so that all you have to do is just write one command, and then the structure of an application will be there for you. But this is subsequent versions. It's definitely not going to be 5, most likely version 6. And yeah, fun times, man. I'm telling you, a lot of dreams. So continuing with this, I just do these things, put the little dollar signs, and there you go. There's my add method done. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, copy it, because I know I'm gonna need it, and then here add connect. I'm gonna do this, and then this, and this. Oops. And then that one gives me a router interface. And let's see what we need. We need the pattern, the paths, and the position. So let's get rid of this guy. Let's get rid of these guys. And then return dollar add pattern, and then paths, connect method, and then position. So that's it. That's how I do the translation. Of course, these are kind of like easy because I got add delete, add get, add head, add options, patch, post, purge, put, trace. So I can do all these guys very easily. Yeah. It will be just a copy and paste and just changing the name. It will be trace, for instance, for one of them. And then of course we're going to the further down when you do the attach and all that stuff. You can see that the syntax of Zephyr is with less than and greater than, whereas with PHP is just gonna be like this, and then you put a dollar sign here. There you go. And then at the end where it has the little pointer, excuse me, when it has the little pointer, you just put semicolon and then delete those, and that's your interface. Sorry about that. So this is the thing, and remember we discussed a little bit earlier about the position and how it can be done. So excuse me again. So I can just do this with the position. I'm forcing it to be an integer, and then like that. And in case you're wondering why I'm bringing it down new lines, I always try to keep things around this line here, which is 80 and maximum 120. It makes it easier to read. It's not a must, but you know, you can do it. So this one, what we could do is if self, actually I can't do it like that because I have errors above me. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this, we're gonna copy it like that, and then copy this there and this there. There you go. There's your delete very quickly. Let's do the speedway. How many do I need? Up to trace, right? So let's paste this one there. this one there. Copy and paste is great, isn't it? I'll just finish this one, guys, and then if you guys don't have any questions, or then we can just call it a day and everybody can go do their stuff. So get is this one. This one is head. So you're already working on MVC. Somewhat. Rudy asks if I'm working on MVC. Somewhat, yes, because I mentioned this earlier in the Hangout that these things are so intermixed that you need one to work with another. So if you're looking here, these components are required by let's say the CLI router. So at least the interfaces are required for a lot of them, and I'm trying not to go into big rabbit holes where I will have to write a huge component. So yeah, these are the things that you have to do. In a way, yes, it is correct that I am working on somewhat on MVC, but not the full thing. So this is the patch, and then we have post. Like that. Shouldn't have that many left. We need purge. Let's put, and I think the last one is trace or something. Maybe Rudy says maybe an issue per namespace of the MVC. Yes, that would be a good way of doing it. And I don't know if going into MVC we're gonna need to create an issue per sub namespace, because there's a lot in MVC that it's not only the models that are gonna be the pain. There's a lot of things that we will need to address. So right now I don't know, but definitely we're gonna be able to figure something out with that. So this is the last thing that I'm gonna show you. So what I would do is I will make it like this. If self position position last equals that, then get this, add it in the routes, and then I will do return this, and then the second one will be if the position is first. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use array merge here, and here's what I was saying with the imports. This little feature of PHP Storm definitely helps you by just bringing it up and say, hey, do you want me to add this function to import? And then all I do is I just say okay, and it does it automatically for me. So this will give some performance boost for you. It's not gonna make a bad written application run better, but why not use it? I mean, it's there. And then the last part is leave it to run an exception. So if it goes to last, it's gonna be return this. If it's gonna be first, it's gonna be return this. Otherwise, it's gonna run an exception. So that's pretty much it. And then I do this so that you have the dot block, and then clear will be void, and the routes will be reinitialized. So you see now the routes here is purple because I put that dot block at the top just to make sure that I'm able to write. And of course, while I'm redoing the code, if you recall, I did use this the events aware trait, which does have the events manager, so I don't need this piece of code. It was injected by the trait. So this is how we do this. Oh, and another thing, here's an interesting part. Remember I told you that, and honestly, this is gonna be the last part. So remember I told you that, excuse me, Zephyr was doing some things in the magically behind. Now, if you didn't assign anything whatsoever to an action name, if you didn't do anything, and you called this, you would get a null back, even though a string is supposed to be returned, right? That was because Zephyr, the way it would set up the properties at the top of your class, it would set them up with null even if you don't have them assigned to null. Now, if I leave this as is and I don't do anything with the properties at the top, which I did, but if I don't do anything, it's a pure translation, this will fail in PHP because you're going to be trying to assign null to or nothing or something from the ether to bring it back as a string. So that's why if you saw at the top the default parts, so get default namespace and all that stuff, I assign them to as nothing. So this tells me here that I can actually let me just put this part. I can actually manipulate one more variable, which is actually two. I can do the controller too. So the controller is a string. So these variables now I know what type they are, and the matched route is of route interface. That's great too. All right, let's do this one too, and then make this part. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3 that we need to fix. Scroll all the way up. So action becomes string, controller becomes string. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an empty string on those. And then the matched route, which is somewhere here. There you go. I can do this. But here's the interesting part. Matched route needs to be null because it's not an object per se. So I'll have to do this. Unfortunately. So let me copy this and go up here and paste this there. And make this so that actually this is not like that. It's like this. And yes, I have OCD. I want everything to be nicely aligned, so sorry about that. It's nice and pretty. And actually now for the get, or which one was it? The get matched route, I need to do this, because otherwise, if you call matched route without anything else, it will just start screaming. Okay, Rudy is asking, any Docker file for PHP 8 Falcon development or Docker Compose for testing and stuff. There is something I know that Anton has been working on through using Docker with different Zephyr versions and everything like that. I do not know if he has it public, but if he doesn't, we're just gonna make that public for everybody to work on. So thanks, Rudy, for telling us. And that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, we've been an hour and a half now on this Hangout. What I could do also, and Anton and I have talked about this before, is to start engaging a little bit more the community by doing a code with me sessions. I know Anton has tried this a few times, and he has been coding, especially when translating Volt to PHP. It just puts a little bit of music and then just codes and then answers questions that might come up in the stream. After we do the docs for 4.1, and yes, the JWT, I have not forgotten. I'll give it a shot to try and do a Hangout / code with me, once a week maybe, and get more people involved, because you might think that translation of Falcon is easy. In a sense it is, but all these different types and this tidying up is just killing us. I've gone back and forth into different rabbit holes just to figure out what a particular variable is, just to make sure that a test passes. So it's not huge fun. So yeah, that's it. Any other questions? I'm gonna wait for a couple of minutes, and then if we don't have any other questions, we're gonna call it a day and wish you a very, very nice weekend. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here, for taking some time, for all your questions. We'll stay in touch. Discussions, Discord. Thank you again. Have a nice evening.